And we basically combined those two things to create Presentium. And we basically came up with this foundational idea that everyone deserves a fair chance to bring their ideas to life, right? So to make the playing field level, also to help people tell better stories.
Welcome to the My Future Business Show, where we get you in front of your best audience and keep you there. Not only are we interviewing the biggest names in business to help you become even more successful, we're inviting you to book your spot on the show to help you grow your business. So at the end of the call, make sure you fill in the interview application form at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. Hi and welcome back to the My Future Business Show. My name's Rick Nusky. This is the show that gets you in front of your best audience and keeps you there. Now on today's show, I'm on the line with the wonderful Rajat Mishra. Welcome to the show, Rajat.
Thank you, Rick. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, it's absolutely wonderful to have you here. We were just speaking before the call just to ease our way in today's amazing session. We're going to be talking about a business that Rajat and his team, he co-founded, in fact, called Presentium. Now, before we jump into the core of the call, Rajat, I love to learn about the people that I'm talking with, because at the end of the day, we know that business is business. It's mechanical. There's lots of constants in business, but one of the most amazing variables to any business are the people behind it. So I would love to learn a little bit more about you by starting off asking you where you're located.
Well, Rick, I live in the Bay Area in California in the US. So in a town called Los Altos. It's between Palo Alto and Mountain View, so in the heart of Silicon Valley.
Oh, absolutely wonderful. And is your team like all located locally, or is it dispersed across the globe?
We have a global team, Rick, and we've always been kind of a distributed model. Mm-hmm. People working from home, even pre-COVID. So we have a team that's based in the US, that's all over. Some of them are local. Some of the engineering talent here is local, but we also have a team in India, mm-hmm. which is a team of designers and a team of data scientists and machine learning folks. So the US and India are the two locations, and everyone works remotely. So
yeah, I'm sure there's lots to talk about in terms of how COVID has impacted your business. I know that it's had an impact on others. It may be awkwardly fortuitous that things have happened the way they have for a business like your own. I'd love to delve into that in a little while, Rajat. But what is a local landmark that people would know where you live?
A local landmark? Maybe the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco.
Yep, been there, love it.
Yeah, I think that's one. Napa is pretty close. Napa Valley, the wine country, is pretty close to where we live.
What else? You've got Alcatraz, you have Mavericks Beach, Surf Break. There's lots there, isn't there?
You have the 49ers.
Are you a sports follower?
I do love sports, but I grew up in India, so my first love is cricket.
Oh, of course.
Everything else, everything else is a far second. But I do love football and baseball also.
Absolutely, I'm an Australian cricket follower, and obviously we're quite combative, aren't we? The Indians and Australians. So it's a wonderful competition to follow.
That is right. Yeah. Yes. Even though from my perspective, maybe it's not as competitive, but that just is a matter of opinion, Rick.
Oh, of course, absolutely. Look, I'd love to ask you, do you have much time away from the workplace? Because I think that on balance, it's one thing to be a hard worker and always at it, but I wonder if there's any consequences in not having any downtime. Do you get a break?
I do actually. My wife and I, we've tried to boil down kind of what is the thing that's most important to us, and we came up with a word called harmony.
Yep.
That's what we picked. So between health, family, and work, we try to make sure there's a balance. So we have 2 kids, so we try to make sure we spend time with the kids and with each other. Like every July, I take my son out we do a father-son trip, and we've been doing it since he was 4 years old. He's 10 now. We couldn't do it last year.
That's excellent.
But speaking of cricket, we went to the Cricket World Cup in England.
Oh, wow.
In July the year before. So we've gone to South Africa together as father and son, Costa Rica, and all kinds of places.
Yeah, that's incredible. Together. Yeah, love it. Yeah. Because you can always get you can't get more time, can you? But you can have these experiences while they're young. It's very important.
That's right. That's right. Someone told me that life is an ice cream. I eat it before it melts. So
Oh, that is wonderful. I've not heard that before. That I'm going to use that.
yeah.
Life is like. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No,
No, I'm
life.
just saying. Yeah,
Life is like an ice cream. Eat it before it goes away. Love it.
eat it before it melts, right?
Eat it before it melts.
Yeah, and then I know that in probably my son's 10, maybe in 3-4 years, and my daughter is 5, maybe so 6 years for her, and they'll probably be spend more time with their friends and not as much with their parents,
Yep. True.
right? And
Yep.
so this is the time, right? So I feel it's like a clock is ticking. So we want to build as many memories as we can with the kids and also with the family. So and we'll talk about kind of my story, but I've consciously prioritized that, Rick,
Yep.
because I'm sure I won't regret spending more time with my kids when I'm older.
Yeah, absolutely. There's got to be that sense of urgency there, doesn't there? I wonder, Rajat, when you were growing up, where were you exactly, and what are some of the fond memories? Just one fond memory that you have growing up.
Yeah, well, great question, Rick. Well, I grew up in a middle-class family in India,
Yep.
and we were not rich, we were not poor, we were comfortable, and we were happy for all the small joys of life. And my dad was in the Indian Navy, so he was a captain on ships and on Indian Navy ships. And my fondest memory is when we were in Mumbai. I think I was like 6-7 years old. My dad had a little scooter, Rick, that he would drive, and my mom would sit in the back. I would stand in front, and my brother would sit in the middle. So there were 4 of us. It was pretty unsafe, but
That's the way it is.
yeah. And then we would drive along the coast of Mumbai. The road was called Marine Drive, and then you could see some of the ships there.
Oh, wow.
And one of my fondest memories is me pointing to one of those ships and saying, that's my dad's ship, right?
Yes.
So that's what I remember. Just on that scooter, on that blue scooter, with the wind in your hair, just being with your parents and just being happy to see all the ships in the sea.
Yeah, when life was much simpler. I wonder, was your father, I guess, a very formative figure in terms of your attitude towards business and life in general? Who helped shape you to be the man that you are today, do you think?
Yeah, I think a lot of people. Clearly, my dad had a big influence, right? He's a very optimistic dreamer,
Yep.
right? And so I think I get that from him. My mom is kind of practical, protect the downside, so I get that from her. But I love reading, and I think a lot of my heroes or mentors are people whose works I have read, because I feel that in a book people distill kind of their best wisdom, and just having the opportunity to read that, I think is awesome, right? So someone like Ray Dalio, who's the founder of Bridgewater Associates, I love what he's written.
Mm-hmm.
I love some of the give and take stuff that Adam Grant has written. I read a lot of history, so I would say books have been the most formative influence.
Yeah.
And made me the man I am.
Absolutely. Now, we've got a lot of startup entrepreneurs on the line. We have existing small to medium-sized business owners, Rajat. Now, they love to listen about the stories from those who have walked the path before them. We always hear about the successful side of business, but when there's rocks on the road and you hit bumps and things like that, how do you deal with them? Is there a special type of person that needs to be involved, or you just have to have the right mindset? How do you go about dealing with problems?
Yeah, I can tell you my approach. I'm very grateful, Rick, for how life has turned out,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when I was on that scooter, if someone told me life will turn out this way, having had a chance to be a senior executive at a company like Cisco, and then now building the company I've always dreamed about with 2 wonderful kids and living in the Bay Area and working on tech, which I love. So I'm just very grateful, and I'm full of gratitude. And when things go bad, I just remind myself of the time when I was in high school or in college. And then I think of, if the 15-year-old Rajat had heard this is how things will be, I would be overjoyed. So no problem. No problem is counterbalances all the good luck and help and good things that have happened to me in my life. So that's how I look at it.
Yep.
And I genuinely feel that every problem can be solved.
Yep.
And that's how I take it. But it's everything is already so awesome that everything is a bonus at this point, Rick.
Yeah, absolutely. Love your attitude. The attitude of gratitude, as it were. Now, you've touched on tech. This is clearly going to be the core of today's call. You've had lots of experience in senior executive roles elsewhere. You've just mentioned some of them. I'm actually looking through your Presentium leadership team. It's wonderful. I'd love to touch on them momentarily, but I think it's time to ask the obvious question: what is Presentium, and what's it all about?
Yeah, so the foundational belief kind of behind Presentium, Rick, is this idea that everyone should have a fair chance to bring their ideas to life. Right?
Yeah.
I think it comes from my upbringing, realizing that the playing field is not always fair, Rick, or is not always level. I found that people who are more privileged get more shots at goal. People who have more money have more chances and opportunities. So I always thought that the playing field was not level. And the other thought I've kind of had growing up is that stories move people. Right? Yep. People have ideas, but in the end, we are all social, and things wrapped in a story is what moves people, not data by itself or not the idea by itself. And these two thoughts, Rick, have been kind of the two intertwined threads that I've been thinking about, mulling about since I was a kid, that the playing field not being level and stories move people. And I went through a lot of roles, right? I worked at Microsoft and McKinsey and then Cisco, and I was looking for my ikigai. What is the thing that I would love doing that would also help the world and also be commercially kind of viable. And I went back to these two thoughts that I've always had my whole life. And we basically combined those two things, Rick, to create Presentium. And we basically came up with this foundational idea that everyone deserves a fair chance to bring their ideas to life, right? So to make the playing field level, and also to help people tell better stories. And so with that foundational belief, we created Presentium, right? And the idea was, and we started with the services business, and I can talk more about what we are building now on that foundational idea. But the idea behind Presentium was, hey, look, business storytelling, right? People spend a lot of time creating business presentations, right? So we have a business side to Presentium and a social side. So the business side, Rick, is helping helping people save time, business professionals save time, and to make their ideas shine in business presentations. And the social side is to help underprivileged children realize their potential. So for every dollar that we make, for every slide that we make, we donate $1 to a children's charity around the world. So that's what Presentium is about, right? It's about helping middle managers save time and make their ideas shine. We make business presentations for them, and we do it overnight. So you send us your document by 5:30 p.m. And by 9:30 a.m. next day, you'll have a polished presentation in your inbox.
Oh, wow.
And as we have grown the business through word of mouth, we've also been helping charities around the world and donating and helping some of these kids. So that's what Presentium is in a nutshell, right? We're trying to democratize business communication.
Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that, Rajat. Now, I have a question. I used to be responsible as a quality manager for creating presentations within a business as a corporate for an international organisation and many other local and national businesses. I always found them to be obviously time consuming. So I wonder, how is it that Presentium knows what the client wants without actually having to be deeply involved with their operations?
Yeah, that's a great point. People do spend a lot of time. I think more than 100 million people spend more than 30 billion hours every year, right? Building more than 2 billion presentations, right? Just some startling numbers. So your question is, how do we know? I think there are a few parts, right? First is we've built over 1 million slides now. Right? So we have that kind of repository. We have that knowledge of usually how slides work, right? And if you think about what people want, it's at three levels, right? It's what kind of company it is, what kind of person it is, and then what are you actually communicating on the slide or in the presentation.
Yeah.
So what we do is for every company, we have management consultants who understand what a company does. We primarily serve healthcare companies and high-tech companies, so they know the industry. We understand the company brand guidelines. So how does that company tell the story? And then for each slide, we know there are roughly 50 main types of presentations, and we also know what kind of layouts people use on slides. So by using that information, we are able to organize a slide and add the design features that make sense. And for every customer who uses us, Rick, we maintain a personnel profile.
Yeah.
And so if you use us, we will know that, look, are you a big picture person, or do you like icons, or do you like few less colors? So each person gets a very tailored output based on how they've used us, based on the company they're in, and based on what type of presentation they're making. And it's a constant learning process.
Yeah.
The more you use Presentium, the better we get. What I'm really proud of is, our revision rate is less than 2%. What that means is that less than 2% of the time, when people get their presentations in the morning, they send it back to us for any changes. So 98% of the time, people are super happy with what they get. And it's really a lot of that business understanding and that design, we bring that together.
Yeah, that's a really important insight. I do appreciate you opening up and sharing that, because that would, be one of my first questions. Now, you talked about storytelling as well as being a major component in all of this. Now, I just have rattling through my brain, death by PowerPoint. How do you go about? Well, clearly this is more than just a PowerPoint thing. This is a real storytelling experience. How do you go about, intertwining storytelling in a business's organization? It seems like a fascinating process.
Yes, and what I would say, Rick, is most people would think kind of storytelling is an art, and we have many kind of boutique firms helping tell storytelling as an art form. My kind of personal belief is that storytelling is both an art and a science. And we have enough data and the technology is at a point where there is a need to infuse some of that tech and science into storytelling. So Presentium, the business, focuses a lot on, at the slide level, making things clear and adding visual design. What we also do, we also offer a training program, Rick, which we call Think Deeply, Speak Simply, right? Which helps our customers with storytelling, right? And because if you think of it, great presentations are not just great slides. They require you to understand the business problem, which is the think deeply part, and then it requires you to speak it very simply, which is kind of the speak simply part. So we talk about how you use different kind of storylines in the Think Deeply, Speak Simply workshop, as a means to reach out to more people in the middle of the corporate pyramid, because I think executives get enough support. We also have a blog and a podcast of the same name, Think Deeply, Speak Simply, which is the art and science of business communication, right? So the services is one part, but through this Think Deeply, Speak Simply brand, we're trying to get the storytelling principles out to as many people as possible who cannot use the service.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, you talked about tech and powering Presentium. What type of technology powers behind the scenes?
Yeah, so on the Presentium side, the tech really is in the back end, because for the customer, it's a super simple experience, right? Just send it by 5:30, you'll get it back by 9:30 in the morning. But everything needs to happen in that 15 hours, right, Rick? So you can imagine every second of that time really counts.
Vital.
So we have, the tech helps us with the workflow, making sure things are organized. We also learn your preferences, so we capture that, and we make sure we bring you the best of business understanding and visual design. So a lot of the tech in Presentium is making the back-end workflow efficient and customized, right? And that's what we're doing on the services side. I talked about kind of the Think Deeply, Speak Simply media efforts we have. What we're really starting now is using AI to actually build the software that helps people build presentations on their own.
Fantastic.
And we are kind of in early phases of that. But if you go back to our vision of everyone should have a fair chance to bring their ideas to life, I think there are three legs to that stool. There is the service, which you can use to, we can make presentations for you. There is the media, which is the free content and the podcast and blog to disseminate the ideas more. And then the third leg is the software where people can build it themselves, right? And we are in early phases of that, but you can think about it like, you can imagine if we have a lot of data at this point, so we know how presentations should be built, and we can guide people to build really personalized presentations for their audience.
Excellent.
Right? And I think even tech, even kind of AI has reached a point now where once you start consuming this information, you can learn that each person wants a different kind of presentation. So how do you take that business understanding? How do you take who's the audience? How do you take all those design in all those slides and create a very simple guided experience for people? That's what we're building, and we will go live in with the beta in June. So we are in alpha right now. So we have a very small group of customers who love the product so far, but in a couple of months, the product is going to go live.
Very exciting, very exciting. Looking forward to that, and before you know it, it'll be on our doorstep and everybody will be knocking down your door to get access to it. Now, earlier in the call, Rajat, you talked about business using icons in their presentations. So I'd love to talk about the visual aspect and how important the visual aspect is, and whether or not you have more than just static imagery inside presentations, because we all know that video is obviously the 21st century modus operandi for most businesses. Tell us how all of that comes together.
Yeah, that's a great point, Rick. I think what we learned is everyone consumes information in a different way, right? So one broad categorization we have of our customers are customers who like minimal designs and people who like vibrant designs. So for me as a techie, I'm a computer science undergrad, I actually like less stuff on the slide, right? So the Google search bar is a thing of beauty for me, right? And so the more things on a slide is more distracting for me. But there are people who like, my wife, for example, she likes more colors on a slide and big images. So that's one thing we do. We really think about what visual preferences you like. And we like to think that visuals and the visual design, they are like clothes for your ideas. And unless your ideas have the right clothes, they may not be received well, especially in a corporate setting where people have very little time to digest what your ideas are. So that's very important. And video, so infographics is kind of the next step from slides, and then there are posters, and then there are videos, right? So we are not deep into videos right now, but we've been doing a lot of work on infographics, on data visualization, and also slides.
Yep, fantastic. There's certainly a lot in the pipeline, I'm sure and certain of that. Now, earlier on in the call, we talked about the pandemic and COVID and what its effect is on the world. How is it changing your industry, and what have you seen? Have there been any good points that have come out of that experience? Yeah.
So, thankfully, Rick, the pandemic has been good for business communication and business presentations. And the reason for that is I think there's been like 150%, I would say, increase in presentations with COVID. And the reason for that is now that everyone's working virtually, there is more of a need to be more clear and succinct. And most of the communication happens through presentations now, right? And you don't have that walk down the aisle to the coffee table and have a conversation. Most of it has become a lot more formal, and we are finding people are spending more time preparing their presentations because attention spans are short. People are in unlimited Zoom calls. So for us, the demand has kind of gone up, and the need. And if you think about even if you think of Zoom, right? If you're presenting a presentation on Zoom or any other software, the presentation takes up 80% of the screen. And the people become really, really tiny. Contrast that with a live presentation where people focus on the person, and the presentation is kind of a supporting artifact. Yeah. Right. So the paradigm has shifted, right? So which has led to a need for being more thoughtful in how you present, And also because people are distracted and people have fatigue, there's also a need to make presentations more lively and fun. Like for example, we had a client who came to us and said, "Hey, can you create a spaceship theme for this presentation?" So because people are getting so bored, right? So
Yeah.
we really created like a Star Wars kind of theme, right, with rockets and little panels that people could look at just to keep people's attention.
Yep.
And we've had people ask us to do like mountaineering themes or add more animation. To your point, can you make it just how can we add visuals
Spice it up.
to make it more fun? And it has also led to a realization that we should put less on slides than more, right? You mentioned death by PowerPoint.
Yes.
Usually because there's too much information on the slide. So people also have become more thoughtful. So from a demand perspective, that's how COVID has affected us. Now, clearly from a supply point of view, our team, which is international, I think has gone through the same challenges, Rick, like any other team working together, right?
Yeah.
I think mental health is an important issue. How do you make sure the team stays connected? And this thing now in the U.S. where we live has been going on for over a year, and in India, it's been over a year and things are still getting worse, right? So how do you, as a leader, keep your team motivated and inspired? And through the pandemic, that's a challenge we've faced, just like many other companies, right? But I think we are kind of grateful in a sense. We're not like in the restaurant business, right?
Yes.
Our demand has still been strong.
Yeah, they're getting crushed, aren't they? And to everybody who's listening to the call today, all the very best, and I hope things turn a corner soon for every sector, every industry out there. Now, I'd love to talk about your leadership team, if we could. Who actually is part of the Presentium team? If you could introduce them for us.
Yeah, and I would love to, Rick. So Presentium. So our story, my wife actually founded Presentium about 5 years ago.
Yep.
And when we had this idea to delve into business presentations, Rick, and you mentioned you have many kind of early in career entrepreneurs, we were not, 20 somethings looking to start a business, right? So we took a very different approach, right? Both of us had successful corporate careers, and, a business is basically a set of hypotheses that you're proving or disproving. Or a startup, that's what a startup is, right? And once you've de-risked the hypothesis, then you have a business. So what we said, hey, instead of both of us like quitting our jobs and jumping headfirst into this, let's think of a more phased approach, right? And one of us should leave our jobs first and try it out and see if there's a market. So 5 years ago, my wife, she left Genentech. She used to lead data science at Genentech. She left, it's a cancer drug company here in the Bay Area. And she started Presentium. So she was the founder and founder of Presentium, and she just started working with her friends and colleagues in the beginning, and that's how the company started.
Yes.
So she and we met in business school. So we met at the Wharton School in University of Pennsylvania, and she grew up here in the Bay Area, and she also went to McKinsey and Company before starting Presentium, right? So she's now the founder and president.
Yep.
Right. I left Cisco. I was in senior vice president in the CX group. About four years into Presentium, as I was growing in my corporate career, Presentium was growing. We were trying to decide what's the best time for us to really jump in and go all in, and we decided early last year that it would be a great time. So that's when I left, and we said, okay, let's continue to grow the services business, but we need these other two legs of the stool. We need the software and we need the media. So that's when I joined. So I'm the CEO of the company now and a co-founder because we founded this together. We are blessed to have a great leadership team. So we have our head of platform engineering is Rat Shetty.
Yep.
And Rat and I actually were friends in Microsoft. So we've known each other for 20 years. So my first job was a software engineer at Microsoft, and that's where I met him.
Yep.
And he has had a very illustrious engineering career working at Amazon Web Services, Uber, Starbucks, and he has joined us to build the platform, which we are in the alpha of, like I talked about. So Rat is on the team. Another person on the team is Mo Jain. Mo Jain and I used to work at Cisco. He, again, is an incredibly talented guy. He went to Wharton, worked at McKinsey, so he heads product for us. We have Shreyos, who is our machine learning head. So he was a CTO at a public company in India. So he leads the machine learning, data science, and search back in India. And we have a few art directors, like Trisha is one of our art directors here in the US. She's been working with us for 3 years. Just an amazing designer with a great aesthetic. So that's the team.
Yeah, and you can see more about the team, can't you? Obviously on your website.
Yes, yeah. Presentium.com has. If you go to leadership, you can see the team there. But really blessed, Rick, that these people left their jobs and decided to join us to go build this company and on our dual mission, right, of democratizing presentations and helping underprivileged kids.
You have a great vision. Clearly, it's a strong vision, which is vitally important. As you've just mentioned, you've got some wonderful talent that have followed you on that journey. Congratulations. What's happening with Presentium is going to change the way that presentations are delivered. Now, when people want to find out more about Presentium, they may want to connect with you or any one of your team. What is the process for doing that, and where can they find you?
Yeah, no, thank you for asking, Rick. You can find us on the internet at on Presentium.com. That's PREZENTIUM.com, right? And so you can ask any questions from there. You can also email us at ask@presentium.com. You can email us there. You can find me on LinkedIn. I've deleted my Twitter and Facebook accounts, and maybe, Rick, that's a conversation for a different day. Right, so I'm just on LinkedIn, right? And Makes you can sense. Find me on, if you look for Rajat Mishra on LinkedIn, you can find me there.
Excellent, Rajat. Thank you so very much for opening up today and sharing a bit about your life and your team and everything that's happening with Presentium. It's been a fantastic call, and as is customary, I'll be making sure that the links back to Rajat and his wonderful team at Presentium.com are available for you no matter where you find this call. You are going to find the links back to Rajat. And Rajat, with all that being said, thank you so very much for joining me on the My Future Business Show today.
Thank you, Rick. It was an absolute pleasure. I appreciate the time.
Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the call, then make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, share us with your friends, and book your spot on the show at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. And if you're looking for solutions that will help grow your business, then visit myfuturebusiness.com/shop.